hell of hope in 25-minute period, wasn't it, Derek? Stunning for you.
Yeah, listen, it's difficult for the players. I think when you see there was two sides to us there. We slowed Celtic down the second half. We put a team out second half just to stop the bleeding, really, and just to use a bit more experience, fill gaps. We became, as a consequence, on paper certainly less attacking. But I think certainly we made Celtic go back the way a lot more and play round us, and I thought we defended really well second half. But the first half is where, in answer to your question, where we got it wrong in terms of, you know, Celtic came out and started like a train. You know, everybody was talking to me about, you'll get the reaction, face the reaction that Celtic would have got from last week's disappointment. And when you actually see Celtic like that, you think, how can they lose games? You know, how can they lose games against teams in the league? But I thought Taylor, movement and kind of just his energy and enthusiasm and his drive, skills, stepping into full-back areas. I thought they two were a huge part of that left-hand side. Was causing us issues. Maeda, Hatate, Taylor and Scales just ganging up on us out there and getting us back onto the back foot and getting us to the edge of the box, really. And then from there on in, we've got to show a bit of calmness. And I think I've played in games where, you know, the first goal was a hell of a strike. There's two world-class goals there, Hatate and Carter Vickers. I don't even know how much power he's got in it. I can't. It's like Dave Nerey all over again. Do you know what I mean? It was like proper goal. Those two goals are first class, and it shows you the quality Celtic have got. But the second half, we actually filled that. We kind of stepped onto that, and we made them go round us, and that's maybe what we should have done. If I'd arrived here with that team that we put out second half, it was seen a bit negative. If you lose a game, then you're maybe still open to a bit of criticism. But the second half team was the team that was needed just to stop the bleeding, use with experience, stay calm in certain situations, and just fill gaps. And I thought first half we got a bit of a run around for long spells in it. There's also, my job is to help my players. First half it was difficult to try and get that kind of advice onto them and that help onto them, and we had to suffer together really until half time. And you know, we asked for a clean sheet second half and we should have got it. We're 20 seconds away from getting it, but we've allowed for the first time in the game their full back into our opposition box, into our box, sorry, and they took full advantage. So but I thought we were second half is what we're going to need more going forward in terms of trust, responsibility, and just being a bit more harder to play against. And thankfully, you know, this was the type of fixture that all our competitors were. That was the result they all wanted, and we spoke about that. The goal difference thing could play a part. So we were mindful of that before the game, certainly mindful of that half time. So it's hard to take any sort of positives for it. So I think it was a combination of Celtic upping the levels, playing in a manner which they can for periods of that first half, and us just not being able to cope with that. To be honest, we couldn't cope with that. We coped better in the second half with how we set up, and we move on for it quickly. Because to be honest, it's like the Scottish Premier League is what it is. Celtic, with the team that normally wins the league, is the team with the biggest investment, right? The team that spends more, the team that's got the best squad, and that normally. And then from there on in, your Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeens, if they're doing their job right, they're normally in the top six, or they should be. And sometimes they don't do their jobs right, these clubs, and it gives encouragement. And last season we get in, Dundee get in, St Mirren get into top six because a couple of those clubs didn't perform well. But the way everybody talks about reconstruction, nobody asks managers about reconstruction. Nobody, you might ask us, but nobody asks us. But the reconstruction with 12 teams, effectively in terms of budgets, and where there's 6 teams there who might, depending on the results today, be slogging it out. None of us can breathe easy. None of us is so competitive. You talk about player development, youth development, like that. This league will never, as it stands, allow that to be the case, because we've got teams, we pitch for the same players, St Mirren, Motherwell, St John's, we all pitch for the same pond, we're all roughly playing the same, and we've just now got to show that with the squad that we've got, we are better than the teams round about us, because every day in that bottom 6 after tomorrow's fixtures is in a fight. They can't breathe easy, and we've just got to make sure we win those fights. We'd like to have been better today, but that's not the fight we needed to win today. We need to win the fights that are coming our way.
Must have been one of the only times this season where you've had to play with one striker up top rather than 2. I suppose that's just purely by necessity, given the quality Celtic have.
Yeah, listen, you go with two strikers here sometimes. We've done that and in the game. And listen, then Callum McGregor runs the game for that position. We actually thought before the game that on the back of Celtic having a difficult result, we thought there'd be changes, but we also thought the one player that's always going to take responsibility for a Celtic shot is Callum McGregor, and he's the one that will go and take the ball, and if he gets more touches than anybody else on the pitch, normally you're in for a difficult afternoon. So we wanted to try and nullify his influence, and probably in a sense we did a wee bit, but unfortunately for us there was others having far more influence. So listen, you solve one problem, you create another problem. Sometimes when Celtic are as good and as strong as they are today, then it's difficult for us, and I felt for us out there, I felt for my players out there, we needed to get them in at half time. If we had a water break, we could have sat them down, we could have tried to try and resolve that situation, but it's difficult when the crowd gets into it and the players are all enjoying the game. It's difficult for any team in Scotland to try and stop them in that mood, but we did second half, we quietened the crowd, we quietened the game, we made it less frantic, we made it less anxious, we just kind of did what needed to be done, and it's a lot of that will be needed in the upcoming games, but I believe we're better than a few teams in the Premier League, and with my squad and hopefully Vassell getting back into training next week and getting Kennedy on the pitch and Stuart Finlay another game, I believe we'll be good enough. We've always dealt with responsibility. In my time at the club, this is probably the first time we're feeling a bit of heat and a bit of pressure, but we've always dealt with what's been asked of us. We were asked to get the club out the Championship, we won the league, we were asked to keep a Championship really squad a lot of those players in the Premier League that first year, and we were asked if we can get in the top six last year, and we got Europe. So this time we're just going to fall short of top six, but we've still got enough games in us to go and show that we're the best of the rest, and that's the intention. I believe we've got the answers in the building, and we'll meet with responsibility as we've always done.
So Armstrong get his goal doing that good as well? I
thought he played well last week against Motherwell. I thought we were really strong last week against Motherwell. For those of you who were at press on Thursday, I thought the nature of the game last week was a lot on it. You know, it was a must-win game, certainly for us at home in Motherwell. And I thought the players dealt with it. I thought we looked experienced, but I actually thought we had some good performers. There was a lot made about Motherwell going down to 10 men, but they were already 1-0 down, and we were dominating the game, and we were a better team. And I thought we had big performers. So it's not the type of game to judge my attacking players today. That type of game, you know, we almost played like double fullbacks second half a lot of the time, because Greg Taylor was more like a winger than a fullback, and Danny was having to be a fullback more than a winger, if you know what I mean. So on this games going forward, we'll have Danny, it's unusual, he comes off at half time, but he scores a brilliant goal, and to be honest, I thought we had a good performance last week, and it's that we'll be focusing on between now and the upcoming games. We'll need to move on for this quickly.